Let's go, girls. Welcome to Talk Wealthy to Me. I'm Michelle Taylor, founder of Women in Wealth. From breaking money myths to building wealth and achieving financial freedom, we're here to empower you to create your own path. Talk Wealthy. Now, join the conversation and let's change the way women think and feel about money. Okay, ready? Ladies, today on Talk Wealthy to Me, I am so excited for you to meet Janine Stella, the creative force behind Stella Mix and a true example of a woman building wealth on her own terms. She has taken her background as a TV producer and radio host and turned it into a thriving business, helping people launch and grow podcasts that stand out. She's known for her transforming ideas into powerful shows with bold branding and flawless sound. But what really makes her unique is how she champions her clients and celebrates their success as her own. Janine's story is a reminder that when we lean into our gifts and build with purpose, we can create freedom and impact at the same time. I can't wait for you to hear her journey and the wisdom she's bringing to our conversation today. Oh, and she is my lifelong best friend. Hey, everybody. I am so happy to introduce you to Janine Stella, who is actually my oldest and very best friend. You may hear me refer to her as Bird, and that's what I've known her as since we were 2 years old. Isn't that crazy? So, Janine, welcome to Talk Wealthy to Me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I am so excited to have you here because you have had a front row seat to every story, every good and bad decision. We've gone through ups and downs, highs and lows, traumatic things together. And I think it's such a disservice to even say you're my best friend because you're family. I think we always say that. But I am really thinking that the audience is going to enjoy this conversation because they've heard a little bit of my backstory, but you were there. So before I start asking you all of the good questions, tell everybody who you are and what you do.
So thanks, Michelle. Janine Stella. I am currently the founder, owner of Stella Mix Podcast Studios in Delray Beach, Florida. I started podcasting about 7 years ago and then worked for a production company and now have been in business for 3 years on my own. And I've known you my entire life. And apologies for the sound. I normally am in my studio. However, I just opened a new studio, which is under construction. So I am at home right now with landscapers outside. So apologies.
It's okay. We're going to do our best to remove it, but I'll take you any way I can get you. So
Woohoo.
You didn't originally set out in life to be a podcast producer. How did you find yourself owning this business and had so well and building the momentum that you have?
That's a great question. So when I worked in finance, you and I had worked for the same company. I had a dream and I woke up one morning and I said, I don't want to do this anymore. It just didn't.
It's not you
at all.
It's not you.
It's not me. And I love the business. It's not like I don't believe in the business. I definitely believe in doing all of that. For me, it's not where my soul took me. So I got into TV production and then I started in 2019. I had started a radio show that turned into a podcast and I just fell in love with it. That's what I wanted to do. And I couldn't figure out how or why or what the next step would be, but I knew in my gut that this was the business that I wanted to be in. And I just went for it.
Well, and two things. You are one of the best storytellers I've ever met. And you just seem to attract the kind of people that make for a full life. I feel like I was just telling Carlos before we started, you are the party wherever we go. You're just, so charismatic and you bring people to a conversation and they just spill their guts. So you are uniquely built for being a podcast producer, I think. And yeah, I'm so thrilled that this is where you ended up because you get to tell your story and help other people tell their stories. And hopefully your personality gets to show through a little bit because you're a ball of fun.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because being a podcast producer, I have put myself on the back burner with my own podcast. I've hosted several of them throughout the years. So I just restarted my own because I'm consumed with helping my clients. And that big personality is quiet because I'm not in front of the camera. So I thought that when I restarted a new podcast, I wanted it to be something that I was passionate about. And so being the black sheep is a very interesting combination of history and literature and all kinds of things intertwined with my own life. But I love podcasting. It's my favorite thing in the world.
Like I said, you were made for it. So, okay, let's back up. So we met when we were 2 years old.
We were in preschool.
In preschool. And you guys, in elementary school, we lost touch. You were close, you know each other in preschool, but back in the 1900s, we didn't do play dates and all of that stuff, right? So we lost touch. And then in third grade, we were in the same class. We were immediately best friends. And we were both at the school carnival with our dads. Our parents were both divorced, and we were off, getting into mischief. And our dads run into each other, and they were best friends and lived together in the 70s. So as they're talking, they have no idea that we're friends. And they say, oh, I'm here with my daughter, me too. And before you know it, we're running up with our arms around each other. And the rest was history. We reconnected our dads through that. And we've been inseparable ever since. You guys have heard me talk about moving to Italy. This is the girl I moved to Italy with. Our first dipping our toes in the entrepreneurial pool was with Janine. We wanted to open a boutique. That's why we moved to Italy. So we've learned so much, and there's been a lot of highs, but also there's been a ton of lows. My listeners know I went through leukemia. You were there with me almost every day. Janine's mom was killed by a drunk driver. I remember exactly where I was when I got that phone call. So we've had a lot of ups and downs together, but I think that there's such an important thing to touch on with this, and it kind of goes into your money story. So growing up, when your mom passed away, she was a decorated nurse, had done amazing work, well respected in the community, never remarried. And in the blink of an eye, you found yourself in a situation at 12 that we never expect to be in. And what I love about this, and I would love for you to speak to, is your mom had done some really good planning that helped to make sure that you were set up for success for the future. And I think it is such an important thing that none of us talk about, but really it changed the trajectory of your life. So tell the audience kind of how that impacted you and the planning that she did.
Absolutely. So my parents were divorced, and when my mom was planning her financial future, she had named me as a beneficiary to her life insurance policy because she was a single woman and there was no one else to leave it to. So it was just me. And no one expects to have their parent die so young.
Yeah.
Right? I was 12. I didn't know what was going on. My father had been on disability. Financially, he really wasn't able to take care of me financially.
Well, and he was not well either. He had his own health challenges.
He was sick. He was very, very sick for a lot of years. And I was left the beneficiary to this life insurance policy, which I received at age 18. Prior to that, we went through a guardian ad litem through the court system. If I needed any of those monies, such as, let's say, a computer or college money when I went to school, it definitely helped. But I had to go through a guardian because, as you know, legally you can't give a child
12-year-old,
that
yeah.
sum of money. You can't do that. It has to be protected. So we did the best we could, but my father didn't really help me plan. We didn't talk about money, or we were in a traditional Italian household. So it was like, don't ask questions. And I didn't really get any answers. I didn't even know what a checkbook was until I was in college. I didn't have my first debit card until I was 19. And the only reason I had to get my debit card, actually 18, was because I got financial aid from FSU and I had to open a bank account.
So, and your dad, he was an amazing man. He's also passed, but Uncle Andy was not financially an example you wanted to follow. You know,
Correct.
So you were left at 12 with a mom who would have been an amazing financial role model. The gift of her planning set you up to make it an easier launch into adulthood. But then, like, you and I were just on our own, figuring it out. And I feel like that's the case for so many young people today. So looking back at that, are there any big mistakes that you made that you remember and thinking, oh my God, I never should have done that?
Are we talking back then or
Like
currently?
as
or
no, as like, you know, you have you've launched, you're an 18, a 20-year-old young woman, you have a house that your mom left you, and you've gone to college, come home. Are there any money mistakes through that someone listening can think about and maybe teach their kids or people that they care about or friends to do it differently?
I wouldn't say there was a lot of mistakes because that money was in a trust. And even when I turned 18, my dad had full control over it. I wasn't allowed to touch it.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, I wasn't a college kid set free with a debit card.
No.
So my dad was protective of that and made sure that at least was a good financial decision. Over the years, I've made some terrible financial decisions. And I've always just haven't been great with money because I really haven't had anyone to help me on that aspect. I just haven't been taught how to budget, how to do things. So when I worked in finance, it was a little bit more helpful, but I've blown through hundreds of thousands of dollars like it was water because I just had it.
Well, and I think that that's so important to hear for so many people listening. You know, they see a business owner or somebody who has a successful career and automatically they think they've got it all figured out. But so often, and with so many of the people I speak to day in and day out, nobody has had an easy path. Everybody is making mistakes, even in the current moment. So I think that it just humanizes it and makes people realize that perfection isn't the goal, but progress and consistency are. And you've done a really good job of bootstrapping this business. Now you're like a local celebrity in South Florida, and you have built it all on your own, figuring it out. And I think that there's so much to learn from that as an example for so many people. What do you think encouraged you to have the motivation, the grit to say, okay, I'm going to figure this out no matter what? Do you think it was because of some of the, you know, hardships you'd had in your young life? You had to learn how to figure things out quickly. What do you think that was? Your husband, Roy, is, you know, he's awesome and such a good partner for you. But what do you think has given you the grit and courage to build this business without having that financial launch pad that would have been a perfect situation?
Perseverance, absolutely. And the reason I say that is when my mother passed, it was just assumed that my dad would blow through money or I would become a bad kid. I would get involved in a different crowd. I would do X, Y, and Z. My mother's family tried to get custody of me because they were concerned with what would happen with my dad. And so I've always tried to, I guess you would say, prove to myself, but to everybody, that I'm capable and I'm not a screw up, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
And that my perseverance for winning successfully is my inner strength to say, I'm not going to fail. I refuse to fail. Fail is a 4-letter word that is not in my vocabulary. So I wanted to prove to everyone and myself that I could do this, even when everyone thought I was absolutely nuts. I mean, I got involved with this business when no one even knew what a podcast was.
Yeah.
So I have been in the trenches for many, many years. I've seen so much, and I just had to figure it out because no one knew how to help me with that. No one knew what equipment to help me to buy to record people or for myself. I just had to figure it out. And that's where we're at.
And I'll tell you what, guys, this girl always lands on her feet. No matter what, we have been in conversation where we're both, 20 years ago saying, I have $3 to my name. But you have always figured it out and succeeded at anything that you've done. You had success in the financial space. You had success in management. But now to see you have success as a business owner and something that truly is in alignment with what you were meant to do is just so amazing.
Well, thanks, Shell.
You're welcome. So, okay, we got to talk about Italy. So we had this crazy idea. And
we did. It was absolutely nutso.
But so here's the thing. I always talk to the audience about, every duo, there needs to be a balloon and a string. And I think that was our shortfall as we were both balloons, big vision, dreamers, going after it. And of course the timeline. But Janine and I were together, and had this idea of starting a business and importing goods from Europe and bringing them here. We had the business plan. And when I tell you we went all in, You sold your car.
I did.
Yeah. You sold your car. I was selling puppies.
And handbags.
And we just would stop at nothing because we were moving. And it was so much fun being there with you. I mean, you were there for anybody listening when I tell the story of my card getting declined for a magazine. This girl was standing next to me. She saw it all. I mean, and I think that despite the bad choices that we made financially, or I should say I made, during that time, it was still such a highlight of life. Doing that with you.
I loved it. Yeah.
We had so much fun.
The best part of my life going to Italy. It's my favorite place in the world. I would say I'm still terrible with money. There is no doubt about it. It is not my strength. Even as a business owner, the build out of this new studio that I'm doing now there is a budget on an Excel spreadsheet that Roy has literally he has everything down to the wire of what is spendable. He highlights it when it's paid. He moves money over so I don't blow through this. It's not my strength, but I'm so thankful that I rely on someone that actually can help me with that because it's just not my strong point. I can teach and coach people in so many different genres, but when it comes to myself and my own financial situation, it's just not my strength.
It's like that old adage, right? The cobbler's children have no shoes. I mean, you're my family. And it's just, I think that knowing that something isn't your strong suit is part of the shortcut to doing better. And I think that I want to tie in Roy in this relationship because something that you've done really well, we talk all the time about women understanding and asking the questions, and you do all those things. And I think there are women that are out there that truly don't want to be more involved in the financials. They need to know, but they're okay letting their partner handle it. And I think that's the case with you and Roy. You guys have been, how long have you been together now? 13, 14 years? More than that, right?
16.
Yeah.
16. On and off, 16.
You've been together for 16 years and you really are the yin to each other's yang. And he is very good with money and he helps. And he is your string and you're the balloon. And that's why it works so well. So how does that work? How does that impact your relationship? Do you guys have money conversations? Does he have to come to you and say, okay, Bird, you're way off track here. Let's reel it in. Or do you think with his guidance, you've gotten really good at managing your expectations?
A little bit of both, actually. It's so apropos that we're having this conversation now. We've always had separate accounts. We did have a joint account for a period of time, but everything has always been separate. I don't have his login credentials to his account. He doesn't have it for my account. We've always, up until actually about 2 months ago, have had everything separate. When I did receive money to go for it and build out my studio, he said, absolutely, I will not let you fail. I won't let you blow through money without a budget. And so I had to give in. I asked him for help. I said, listen, I've never in 16 years said, here, take the reins, but I'm so glad that I did, because he's been so organizational. But we really don't mix. We don't mingle our funds together ever. We've always just, he has a business, I have a business. So for us, we've never intertwined that. We've always kept everything separate.
But I think that you can rely on him, and you have such an immense amount of trust in each other that you're okay with him kind of guiding you and knowing that it is not something that you're good at. And you're okay with that. Like, that's what it's supposed to be, a partnership, right?
I am. And as my business starts to grow, because I'm in a larger space, I'll be able to be more involved. And I definitely need your help, bestie, with all kinds of other things. But I'm grateful at this point that I have someone to rely on as far as with that aspect. It's like my Achilles heel. I can help with so many things in life, but when it comes to my own financial situation, I'm a kind of a disaster.
But you've got me, so it's okay. We'll figure it out together. And Roy.
Okay.
Okay, what do you think is the hardest part of being a business owner?
I think the hardest part is when I tell someone I'm going to call them back and I don't, and it's 13 hours later or the next day. I had that conversation this morning. I was supposed to call a friend of mine back, and I never got around to it. And I always try to call people back if I say I'm going to call them back. And I look back on yesterday and I put in a 16-hour day. I'm in the trenches, building furniture for my space, working with a designer, picking out paint colors, trying to organize everything. And before I knew it, it was 10 o'clock at night. And I think as an entrepreneur, the biggest shift has been when it's your baby and it's your business, you don't look at the hours, you don't look at the time. You're just go, 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 go.
Yeah.
But with that, there tends to be some moments where I wish I could be there more for friends or family, but I'm laser focused on what I'm doing at this point.
Well, and I would say too, you did not have children. You have fur babies, a house full of fur babies. And this business is like your baby. I mean, it takes so much of your time, but I think that there's a true reward to that because you're building something that is amazing. So, people go into entrepreneurship and think of all the good things, but it is important to realize that when you're not clocking in and out, you're not answering to somebody, but that means you're never clocking out.
I never clock out. I have no boundaries. It's funny because one of my clients is a coach and she helps people with boundaries. But we actually theoretically have no boundaries. So, it's like if you call me or text me at 8 o'clock at night on a Saturday, I'm answering because my job is to book my clients. And when my calendar's full, I only have so many slots to record people. So for me, I always am available for them via email, text. People know that they can call me at any point in time and I'm available for them. And I think that it gives me the white glove service to my clients that they're not used to from other businesses.
Well, and that's your difference maker, right? That's why your clients are your clients because you do it better. And I can speak to you being available because we're together from like December 22nd until the 26th every year. And it's our thing to go Christmas shopping while you're up here. We go for the kids and wrap presents and bake cookies and we squeeze in all the Christmas magic. And how many years has it been that there's something going on? There's an edit. There's something that you're doing on Christmas Eve. You're never clocking out, but it's also part of your superpower.
The best part is, though, now I'm grateful to have help. I've hired someone to do certain things. But always I'll have some edits that I need to do. But I'm so committed to my clients that I'll do what it takes. I mean, I recorded some of my clients on Labor Day this year, and my friends were like, "What are you doing? It's Labor Day." And I'm like, "Yeah, Labor Day means I have to work labor." They're like, "No, it means you take the day off." And I was like, "Not exactly." So you got to do what you got to do as an entrepreneur.
Perseverance.
You just have to.
Perseverance.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what is new and exciting for you and in your company?
So with the expansion of this new space, I am building 3 different options for sets that people can choose from when they come into the space. So they might want a table to sit at. They might want a couch. They might want a chair. So I have these 3 different options to really help people decide what layout, if they're doing video, that they have the feel for, which for men, I think the men more like the newsroom type of table talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's allowing me the flexibility to really help my clients. It's really all for my clients. It has nothing to do with me. This has everything to do with them. I'm doing everything for them. I've taken a combination of everything I've learned in podcasting and the actual setup of the space in companies I've worked for, in places I've been, and I'm just trying to pick my ideal spot that I want.
So you're building out the studio, you're expanding. You just launched a new podcast show that features you. That's
I know, strange.
Really fun. Tell us about that.
So being the black sheep is a culmination of different stories. Partly I intertwine my life, and then I also intertwine history involved in that. So a lot of people say, "Hey, you're the black sheep," but they really don't know where that phrase came from. So in the first episode, I really dive deep into what that black sheep meant. And hundreds and hundreds of years ago, a black sheep was a genetic mutation in nature, and they were useless to farmers because they couldn't use their wool.
Yeah.
So it turned out as a genetic mutation, which transformed into this term of being different, the one standing out. And I kind of feel like that's me. I have no filter. I say what's on my mind way too often. And I have crazy stories because I'm nuts. And no F's given. I mean, honestly, it's a culmination of a lot of things, but I'm having fun with it so far.
Yeah, it's so good. And like I said in the beginning, you're a great storyteller. And the fact that anybody would ever call you a black sheep in a negative way is crazy, because you are so uniquely different and fun. So I think there's a lot of people that will resonate with that, and everybody needs to listen to it. So and
everyone needs to listen to your podcast. You are in the top global 2.5%. I think I checked your podcast last week.
Well,
so on listennotes.com, you are in the top 2.5%, which is spectacular.
Spoken like a true bestie. What is when you think back, when you were watching me, and you guys, this show is all about defining success and building out your version of what that looks like, and permission to ask the questions, right? But I also want to spend a minute just talking about how that is so far from what I started out as. And I want you to use that as encouragement, because whatever your past was does not have to define who you are in the future. So Janine, if I 20 years ago told you that I would ever be in this space, you would have laughed at me, right?
We would have laughed together over a bottle of wine, probably.
So do you remember watching me make some of the terrible money decisions that I was making? I mean, it was frantic and like spending and having fun. And you never really did that. And I think it's just because of, obviously I was doing it to fill some kind of void after being sick and all the things. But do you have any memories of that, watching me totally being out of control?
I do, especially when we worked at Saks. I remember you buying bags that were $1,500 to $2,000. And I'm
with
like,
with no
and
business.
it was, but again, everyone has, I don't want to say it's an addiction, but everyone has an outlet in life that they go through. For me, it was food. For you, it was shopping. For other people, it's,
Alcohol.
alcohol.
Yeah.
There's so many things. And I think it's important to talk about that there's other things that are addictive qualities in people that need to be spoken about and shed light on it in a positive way, because people like us in our outlets needed help that really no one really talked about, because it's easy if you're an alcoholic to go to an AA meeting,
Right.
and have support. It's easy to go to rehab and then be involved in NA but for the eating disorder that I had for several years, people looked at me and said, "Man, that girl's messed up." Instead of what behavior, what trauma has
How
caused
can we
this?
fix it?
And
How can we help?
how can we fix it? Right. So same thing with shopping. You looked at it as, I'm getting a deal, because you love getting a deal. So you're like, well, if I get this and I get this on sale, I'm making out.
But I had no money to buy
But
it.
you had no money. But still, where there's a will, there's a way. And I think where you came at it was, how can I do this to get this? How can I do that? You were like playing a game of Tetris in a way. Not that it was a healthy thing, but it was quite impressive to watch, actually.
And I still, to this day, love that, right? And I think that that's what's so important is the past mistakes, learn from them, do better, make the next best decision, but don't ever lose the feeling of what it felt like to make the mistake. Like even today where I have the financial freedom, if I see something, I can buy it, I still hesitate because I don't ever want to lose that. I don't want to become like numb to the experiences I had of waking up at 4:00 in the morning, freaking out about money and how I was going to pay for something, because it almost just keeps you on the straight and narrow. But yeah, it's wild to think about the journey, and I don't have a memory that doesn't have you in it where I was going through all of that, because you were there, you and Christina, like we were shopping together and having fun. And I think now to think back to those girls, you're so right. It isn't just about having the right money conversations, right? Because there was a ton of that to be had. No one was teaching us about interest rates and what this would do to your credit and how it would haunt me for years. But why it was happening. Why was I shopping? What was I trying to do? What did it make me feel like? And I think that it takes a lot of hard work for anybody listening where you've made some miscalculations when it came to your finances. We can say it's all about the inability or the lack of access to education, but also figure out like the roots of it, right? The tree is the access, but the roots of your relationship with money or your relationship with any kind of vice, figuring that out is super important to fixing the problem.
It's all psychological. It all stems from something. And it's definitely important to find the root of that. Absolutely.
So what is one thing that you've done really well financially? Like if you were teaching my kiddos something about money, what is one thing that you think you've done well that you're proud of?
I think when I have a surplus of money and the business is doing well and I've had a couple of good months, if I want something, I still don't buy it. Just because I have it doesn't mean I need to spend it. So I think that, if I could talk to myself 20 years ago and even now talk to your kids about saving money, it would be save every penny you have, budget it out. If you have an expense fund at the end of the year and you want to have fun with it, make a budget for that. Because if you just buy everything you like because you have the money to do it, you're not going to have anything or a nest egg at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think you've done a really good job when we go shopping together for like the holidays, for example. You always know where you want to be. And it's so funny to watch you like doing the math in your head. And you're really good at setting those boundaries to be like, this person, this is what I'm spending. This person, this is what I'm spending. And watching you kind of negotiate it in your head. I'm so proud of you because I think you do a really good job at setting realistic boundaries and operating within them.
Thanks. I wish I was better, but I'm a work in progress.
We are all a work in progress. So I'm going to tell you guys a really funny story as we wrap up. 4th grade, Janine and I loved the New Kids on the Block.
Oh, God. Here we go.
Janine was a Joey McIntyre girl, and I was a Jordan Knight girl. And she had a Joey McIntyre hat that had the top cut out. And we were lip syncing, performing in her bedroom in front of your glass closet doors. And I had the hat. And you took the hat. And when I went to go take it back, the ribbon ripped. And you had the microphone and you clocked me on the nose with it. And I had a bloody nose and ran downstairs, and your mom was awesome. And we were mad at each other for about 10 seconds. And we now love to tell this story. And I think that that's the reality. That's the moral of all of this. The takeaway is find your people and love on them hard. Build out your tribe, build out your board of directors. That is the secret sauce to all of this, even when they take a microphone to your nose. You can get past anything.
We foreshadowed the future with that. Actually, I think about that now, and we're both on a microphone somewhat. So I think that's interesting.
It's so true. It's a good thing this is virtual.
That's right.
I love you so much. Where can people follow along and see what you're doing? Because you can serve clients anywhere. So tell everybody where they can find you, where they can listen to you.
Sure. So you can, if you're following my podcast, you can go Being the Black Sheep, type that into the search on Apple or Spotify or anywhere you digest your digital content with podcasting. If you are seeking any type of consulting with your own podcast or getting started, you can reach out to me at stellamix.com, and my email is info@stellamix.com. Instagram is stellamix_studios, and that's all the things.
Well, I am a huge fan of all of your work. I think that you're an exceptional human being. You are a work in progress like we all are. And I think that you saying that just speaks to the type of person that you are. And I think that you're such a good example for anybody out there that is figuring it out as they go, making sure that success is the only option, dealing with the tools that they have in their toolbox, and making sure they land on their feet. And that is the true definition of Janine Stella. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. It's been a long time coming.
I know. We've talked about this. I can't believe it's taken this long, but I would encourage all of you to follow along with Janine and have these kind of conversations. If you've got that bestie, that sister that's next to you, and one of you is making some wrong moves, have the conversations, figure out why those things are happening, and be loyal and pillars in each other's lives. Because like I said, it is the secret sauce. So as always, please like, share, subscribe, and let's keep changing the way women think and feel about money together.